Have you ever felt invisible in your own home, like no matter how much you give, you're still treated as if you don't belong? Tonight's story is for anyone who's ever questioned their place in the world or wondered what family really means when love comes with conditions. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. The kitchen light flickered again as I sat at my laptop, reviewing the month's expenses. Another $1, $200 for rent, $150 for utilities, $80 for internet, all under my name, all paid from my account. The familiar weight of responsibility settled on my shoulders as I heard my mother's voice drift from the living room. Tazana's been acting strange lately, Velda said to someone on the phone. Always on that computer, thinking she's so important with her little freelance jobs. I closed my laptop quietly and walked toward the kitchen, where a stack of mail sat unopened on the counter. My hands trembled slightly as I sorted through the envelope's electric bill, water bill, and then something that made my blood run cold. A letter from Morrison and Associates. Real estate. The letter was addressed to my mother, but the content was clear they were interested in purchasing our house for a quick sale. At the bottom, in my mother's handwriting, were notes about viewing dates and asking prices. They were planning to sell the house I'd been paying for. I heard footsteps approaching and quickly slipped the letter back into the pile. Avis entered the kitchen, her phone pressed to her ear. "No, I told you. We can handle the finances," she was saying. "It's not like Tazana contributes much anyway." Our eyes met for a moment. She didn't even have the grace to look embarrassed. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. The real estate letter burned into my memory. For the first time in years, I allowed myself to feel the full weight of my situation. I wasn't just invisible in this house, I was being actively erased. The next morning, I found my mother in the kitchen, coffee cup in hand, scrolling through her phone with the casual indifference that had become her default expression around me. "Mom," I said, placing the real estate letter on the counter between us. "We need to talk." She glanced at the letter, then back at her phone. "It's just exploratory. Tazana, don't be so dramatic." Dramatic. The word came out sharper than I intended. I pay the rent on this house. I pay the utilities. And you're planning to sell it without even telling me. Velda set down her phone with deliberate slowness. "You pay rent because you live here. That doesn't give you ownership rights. It gives me the right to know when my home is being sold out from under me." "Your home." Her laugh was cold. "Tazana, you're 32 years old. This isn't your home. It's a place you've been allowed to stay while you figure out your life." The words hit like a physical blow. Before I could respond, Avis appeared in the doorway, drawn by the raised voices. "What's going on?" she asked, though her tone suggested she already knew. "Your sister thinks she has a say in family decisions because she pays some bills," Velda said. Avis crossed her arms. "Honestly, Taz, you've been acting like you own the place lately. It's getting uncomfortable." I looked between them, these two women who shared my DNA but felt like strangers. "I'm not asking to own anything. I'm asking to be included in decisions that affect my life." "Your life?" Velda's voice rose. "What life you sit in your room all day, typing on that computer, barely speaking to anyone. You're like a ghost haunting your own existence." The kitchen fell silent except for the hum of the refrigerator. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, could taste the metallic flavor of adrenaline. "Fine," I said quietly. "If I'm such a ghost, maybe it's time I disappeared." I turned and walked upstairs, leaving them in their kitchen, in their house, with their plans that had never included me anyway. That afternoon, while my mother and Avis were out, I did something I'd never done before I went through their things, not out of malice, but out of necessity. I needed to understand exactly what I was dealing with. In my mother's desk drawer, I found a folder labeled House Sale. Inside were documents that made my stomach drop: property assessments, realtor contacts, and a timeline that had them closing within 6 weeks. There was also a handwritten note in Avis's writing. T will have to find somewhere else. Can't keep enabling her. But it was the next discovery that truly shattered me. Hidden beneath a stack of old bills, I found credit card statements in my name, but with charges I'd never made. Expensive dinners, shopping trips, even a weekend getaway to a spa resort. The balance was over $15,000. My hands shook as I photographed everything with my phone. This wasn't just about being unwanted, this was fraud. I heard the front door open and quickly returned everything to its place, but as I climbed the stairs to my room, I heard Avis on the phone in the hallway. "No, she has no idea," Avis was saying. "The credit cards were easy to get approved. Her credit score is actually pretty good." I pressed myself against the wall, barely breathing. "We'll be out of here in a month, and she'll be stuck with the bills. It's perfect. She'll be too embarrassed to tell anyone, and we'll be free of her drama." The casual cruelty in her voice was breathtaking. This wasn't just neglect or indifference. This was deliberate destruction. I made it to my room before my legs gave out. Sitting on my bed, I stared at the photos on my phone. Evidence of a betrayal so complete it took my breath away. For the first time in years, I cried. Not the quiet, hidden tears I'd shed in this room so many times before, but deep, body-shaking sobs that came from a place of profound loss. I wasn't just losing my family, I was discovering I'd never really had one. The next few days passed in a strange, suspended tension. I moved through the house like I was underwater, everything muffled and distant. My mother and Avis continued their planning, speaking in hushed tones that stopped whenever I entered a room. On Thursday night, they made their move. I was in my room working when I heard my mother's voice, sharp and commanding. "Tazana, come downstairs. We need to talk." The living room felt like a tribunal. My mother sat in her usual chair, Avis on the couch, both of them wearing expressions of grim determination. My father was there too, relegated to the corner chair, his eyes fixed on his phone as always. "Sit down," Velda said, gesturing to the chair across from them. I remained standing. "I'll listen from here." Avis exchanged a look with our mother. "We've made some decisions about the house," she began. "About the future." "We're selling," Velda said bluntly. "The market is good, and we've found a buyer. We close in 3 weeks." I felt the words wash over me like ice water. "And where exactly am I supposed to go?" "That's your problem to figure out," Avis said. "You're an adult. Adults find their own housing." "I see." My voice sounded strangely calm to my own ears. "And the fact that I've been paying the rent here for the past 2 years? We never asked you to," Velda snapped. "You took that on yourself. Don't expect gratitude for something nobody wanted." The room fell silent. I looked at my father, hoping for some sign of support, some acknowledgement of the insanity of what was happening. He didn't look up from his phone. "There's something else," Avis said, and I heard the nervousness creeping into her voice. "There's been some confusion with some credit cards, some charges that got mixed up." My heart started pounding. "What kind of confusion?" "Nothing major," she said quickly. "Just some bills that accidentally got put in your name. We'll sort it out eventually." "How much?" I asked. The silence stretched between us like a chasm. "How much, Avis?" "About 15,000, she whispered. The number hung in the air like a death sentence. I felt something inside me break, not my heart, which had been breaking for years, but something deeper. My capacity for surprise. Maybe my ability to believe they might have some shred of decency left. You stole from me, I said quietly. We didn't steal anything, Velda said. We're family. Family helps each other. Family helps each other. I repeated. Is that what this is? I looked around the room at these people who shared my blood, but had never shared my burdens, who had taken my money and my labor and my silence and still found me wanting. You're right, I said finally. I should go. I turned and walked upstairs, leaving them in their victory. But as I climbed those stairs for what I knew would be the last time as their daughter, I wasn't broken. I was calculating. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat at my desk, organizing everything I'd discovered into a coherent timeline: credit card fraud, rent payments, utility bills, house sale plans. It painted a picture of systematic exploitation that was both breathtaking and heartbreaking. At 3 a.m., I made a decision that would change everything. I opened my laptop and began typing, not an angry rant or a plea for understanding, but a simple, factual account of what had happened. I included screenshots of the credit card statements, photos of the rent receipts, copies of the utility bills, all in my name, all paid by me, all ignored by them. The post was titled simply, "When Family Becomes Fraud." I wrote about the years of being invisible, the casual cruelty, the financial exploitation, but I also wrote about something deeper: the way they had made me doubt my own worth, my own reality, the way they had gaslight me into believing I was the problem. I didn't name them directly, but anyone who knew our family would understand exactly who I was talking about. At dawn, I hit publish. Then I got dressed, packed my essential belongings into 2 suitcases, and called a locksmith. By the time my family woke up, the utilities had been disconnected, the internet was off, and the locks had been changed. I sat in my car across the street, watching through the window as they moved from room to room, flipping switches that no longer worked, trying to understand what had happened. My phone started ringing almost immediately. First my mother, then Avis, then numbers I didn't recognize. I let them all go to voicemail. The first message was from Velda. Tazana, what have you done? Call me back right now. The second was from Avis. You're being ridiculous. This is illegal. You can't just cut off our power. The third was from a number I didn't recognize. Hi, this is Jessica from Channel 7 News. We saw your post and would like to talk to you about your story. I turned off my phone and drove away. The story exploded faster than I had ever imagined possible. Within 24 hours, my post had been shared thousands of times. Local news stations picked it up. Strangers were messaging me with their own stories of family exploitation and financial abuse. Yomei. But the real earthquake happened at the house I used to call home. I heard about it from my cousin Sarah, who called me from a number I didn't recognize. Taz, she said, her voice breathless with excitement and horror. You need to know what's happening. The police came to the house this morning. Police? Someone reported the credit card fraud. They arrested Avis. I felt the world tilt sideways. They arrested her. She's been charged with identity theft and credit card fraud. Apparently, your post caught the attention of someone at the bank's fraud department. They investigated and found evidence of systematic theft. I sat down hard on the hotel bed where I'd been staying. What about my mother? She's not charged with anything yet, but they're investigating. And Taz, Sarah's voice dropped to a whisper. The house sale fell through. The buyers saw the news coverage and backed out. They're saying the whole family is toxic. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I felt empty. There's more, Sarah continued. Your dad moved out. He's staying at that senior community on Maple Street. He left a note saying he couldn't be part of it anymore. Malcolm, the man who had sat silent through years of abuse, who had never once defended me or stood up for what was right. Even he had reached his limit. "How are you doing?" Sarah asked gently. "I don't know," I said honestly. "I never wanted this to happen. I just wanted them to see me." "They see you now," she said. "The whole world sees you now." After I hung up, I sat in the silence of my hotel room and tried to process what my life had become. I had wanted acknowledgement, validation, maybe even an apology. Instead, I had accidentally destroyed my family. The worst part was that I wasn't sure I regretted it. 3 weeks later, I stood in a courtroom watching my sister plead guilty to charges of identity theft and credit card fraud. She looked smaller somehow, diminished in her orange jumpsuit, nothing like the confident woman who had dismissed my concerns so casually. When the judge asked if she had anything to say, Avis looked directly at me for the first time since this all began. "I'm sorry," she said, and for a moment, I thought she meant it. "I'm sorry I got caught." The judge sentenced her to 18 months in prison and ordered her to pay full restitution. As they led her away, she didn't look back. My mother sat in the gallery behind me, her face a mask of controlled fury. She hadn't spoken to me since the day I left, but her presence in the courtroom felt like an accusation. After the hearing, she approached me in the hallway. "Are you satisfied?" she asked, her voice low and venomous. "No," I said honestly. "I'm not. You destroyed this family." "No," I said, finding my voice stronger than I expected. "I revealed what this family really was. There's a difference." She stared at me for a long moment, and I saw something flicker in her eyes, maybe recognition, maybe regret. But then it was gone, replaced by the cold indifference I knew so well. "You're no daughter of mine," she said. "I haven't been for a long time," I replied. She walked away without another word, and I knew it would be the last time we ever spoke. 6 months later, I stood in the community center where I now volunteered, teaching digital literacy to women who had been overlooked and undervalued by their families. The irony wasn't lost on me. I had found my purpose in helping others find their voices. "Remember," I told the group of women gathered around the computers, "your story matters. Your experience is valid. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise." Linda, a 70-year-old woman whose children had been controlling her finances, raised her hand. "But what if telling the truth hurts people you love?" I paused, thinking about my own journey. "Sometimes the people we love are the ones hurting us," I said gently. "And sometimes the kindest thing we can do for them and for ourselves is to stop enabling that hurt." After class, I walked home to my small apartment across town. It wasn't much a one-bedroom with a tiny balcony where I grew herbs, but it was mine. Every bill was in my name. Every decision was mine to make. Every moment of peace was earned and protected. My phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. "Dad wants to see you." I stared at the message for a long time. Malcolm had reached out several times through intermediaries, asking to meet, to explain, to apologize. I had ignored them all. But tonight, for some reason, I found myself typing back, "Okay." We met at a small cafe downtown, neutral territory. He looked older, grayer, smaller than I remembered. When he saw me, his eyes filled with tears. "I'm sorry," he said before I even sat down. "I'm so, so sorry." "For what?" I asked, genuinely curious. "For everything, for staying silent, for letting them treat you that way, for being a coward." I sat down across from him, studying his face. "Why now? Why didn't you say something before?" He was quiet for a long moment. "Because I was afraid," he said finally. "Afraid of conflict, afraid of making waves, afraid of being alone. I thought if I just stayed quiet, everything would work out somehow. And how did that work out for you? He laughed bitterly. I'm alone anyway. Your mother won't speak to me. Avis blames me for not protecting her. And you? He looked at me with such sadness. You probably hate me most of all. I don't hate you, I said, and realized it was true. I'm disappointed in you, but I don't hate you. Can you forgive me? I thought about it seriously. I can forgive you for being weak, I said finally. But I can't forget that your weakness enabled their cruelty. That's something I have to live with, and it's something you have to live with too. He nodded, tears streaming down his face. I know. I just wanted you to know that I see you now. I see what they did to you, and I see how strong you are for surviving it. I'm not looking for your approval anymore. Dad, I don't need it. I know, he said. That's what makes you stronger than all of us. We talked for another hour, not about reconciliation or rebuilding our relationship, but about acceptance and moving forward. When we parted ways, we hugged not as father and daughter, but as two people who had survived the same storm and found their way to shore. Nimboin. 1 year after I left that house, I received an unexpected email. It was from a literary agent who had read my story online and wanted to know if I'd be interested in writing a book about family estrangement and financial abuse. Your story resonated with thousands of people, she wrote. There's clearly a need for this kind of honesty about family dysfunction. I stared at the email for a long time, thinking about all the messages I'd received from strangers sharing their own stories of being erased, exploited, and gaslight by the people who were supposed to love them unconditionally. I thought about Linda and the other women in my digital literacy class, about the podcast I'd been invited to speak on, about the quiet revolution of people learning to value themselves enough to walk away from toxicity. I wrote back, yes, I'm interested. The book took 2 years to write. It wasn't easy, revisiting those memories, excavating the pain I'd worked so hard to heal from. But it was necessary, not just for me, but for everyone who had ever felt invisible in their own family, everyone who had ever been told their pain didn't matter, everyone who had ever been made to feel grateful for crumbs of affection. The day it was published, I held the physical book in my hands and felt something I'd never experienced before: pride. Not in surviving what had happened to me, but in transforming it into something that might help others. The book became a bestseller. I was invited to speak at conferences, to appear on television shows, to share my story with audiences around the world. But the moment that mattered most came during a book signing in Seattle. A young woman approached my table, clutching a worn copy of my book. She was maybe 25, with tired eyes and the kind of careful posture that spoke of years of walking on eggshells. Thank you, she said simply. Your book helped me understand that I wasn't crazy, that what was happening to me wasn't normal. What are you going to do? I asked. I'm leaving, she said, and her voice was stronger than her appearance suggested. I'm scared, but I'm leaving. Good, I said. You deserve better. She nodded and walked away, and I knew that whatever pain I'd endured, whatever family I'd lost, it had been worth it for that moment. 5 years after I left that house, I received a letter, not an email or a text, but an actual handwritten letter delivered to my publisher's office. The return address was unfamiliar, but the handwriting wasn't. It was from my mother. I almost threw it away without reading it. I'd built a good life, a peaceful life, and I wasn't interested in reopening old wounds. But curiosity won out. The letter was short, Tazana. I saw your book in the store today. I bought it, but haven't been able to read it yet. I know I don't have the right to ask for anything from you, but I wanted you to know that I think about you every day. I was wrong about everything. I was so focused on what I thought you should be that I never saw who you actually were. I was threatened by your independence, your talent, your strength. I tried to make you smaller so I could feel bigger. I know it's too late for apologies. I know I can't undo the damage I did, but I wanted you to know that I'm proud of you. I'm proud of the woman you became despite me, not because of me. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know that you were never the problem. You were never too much or not enough. You were exactly who you were supposed to be, and I was too broken to see it. I hope you're happy. I hope you're at peace. You deserve both. Mom. I read the letter 3 times, waiting for the anger or pain or desperate hope to surface. Instead, I felt something unexpected closure. I folded the letter carefully and put it in my desk drawer, next to the birthday card I'd written to myself at 12 and the acceptance letter from Oregon I'd never used. Artifacts of a life that had led me here, to this moment, to this peace. I didn't write back. There was nothing left to say. That evening, I sat on my balcony with a cup of tea, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and pink. My herbs rustled in the gentle breeze, and somewhere in the distance, I could hear children laughing. I thought about the girl I used to be, the one who wrote herself birthday cards and hid her achievements in drawers. I thought about the woman I'd become, the one who had learned to take up space without apology, to speak truth without fear, to love herself without condition. I thought about all the women I'd met along the way, Linda with her trembling hands, learning to video call her son, the young woman at the book signing finding the courage to leave, the countless others who had shared their stories with me. We were all connected by the same thread, the radical act of choosing ourselves, of refusing to disappear, of insisting on our right to exist fully and authentically. As the stars began to appear in the darkening sky, I raised my teacup in a silent toast to survival, to healing, to the space we take and the light we shine and the truth we tell. Thank you so much for staying with me until the end of this story. If you found yourself in any part of Tazana's journey, or if it made you reflect on your own definition of home and self-worth, I'd love to hear your thoughts, share your story, or where you're watching from in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. And don't forget to share it with friends who might need a little inspiration today. Your support means the world and helps this community grow. See you in the next story. Until then, be seen, be safe, and never apologize for the space you take.